Hey race fans, and welcome to our deep dive into the Rolex 24 at Daytona. If this is your first time tuning in for this 24-hour racing marathon, well,
You're in for a treat.
yeah, we'll break down all the action, the drama, even just the spectacle of this race. It's one of the toughest races out there.
Absolutely.
We're talking 24 hours of straight racing, multiple drivers on each team, and then 4 different classes of cars all battling it out on the track at the same time.
It's a recipe for chaos.
Organized chaos, hopefully.
Right, and this year we have a huge grid, 61 entries.
I mean, that's a lot of cars to keep track of.
It is, but that's where we come in.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, to help you navigate this crazy race.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to talk about who to watch, what storylines to follow, and basically just what to expect if you're a first-time spectator.
Sound good.
So let's jump right in. One of the first things that jumps out at me is the sheer star power in this year's race. It's like a Formula One reunion down in Daytona.
Yeah, we got some big names from F1.
Huge names like Felipe Massa.
Former Ferrari driver, no less.
Yeah. Exactly. He's driving for Riley in the LMP2 class. And then you've got Romain Grosjean.
Who's become a fan favorite in IndyCar.
Yeah, after that insane exit from Formula One a few years back, he's racing a Lamborghini here.
It's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to this style of racing.
For sure. And then wait, there's more. We even have a current Formula One driver on the grid.
You're kidding?
Nope. Kevin Magnussen, who races for Haas in Formula One, is somehow squeezing in the Rolex 24 with BMW. Talk about a busy schedule.
That's wild. It really shows how prestigious this race is.
Yeah, drivers from all over motorsport want to test themselves at Daytona. And it's not just the ex-Formula One guys.
Right. We've got IndyCar champs, too.
Yeah, Scott Dixon and Alex Palou, they're teaming up with Acura.
They're going to be a force to be reckoned with, for sure.
And then there's Austin Cindric.
The Daytona 500 winner himself.
Yep, trading in his NASCAR stock car for a Ford GT this weekend.
He's a versatile driver, that's for sure.
It's just amazing to see all these drivers from different backgrounds come together for this one event.
It really is. It speaks to the challenge and the prestige of the Rolex 24.
Okay, so we've got all these big names,
Yeah.
but let's not forget about the veterans.
The guys who've been there, done that.
Yeah, the drivers who've tasted victory at Daytona before and know what it takes to survive this 24-hour battle.
Exactly. They bring a wealth of experience to the grid.
Like, who are we talking about?
Well, we've got Felipe Nasr.
Okay.
He's the only driver returning from last year's winning team, Porsche Penske Motorsport.
Wow, so he knows what it takes to win.
Exactly. And he's also the reigning GTP Series champion.
So he's definitely one to watch.
Absolutely. Then we have Ryan Dalziel.
Oh, yeah, he's back.
He's back to defend his LMP2 title with Era Motorsport.
They were dominant last year.
They were, and I have to mention Andy Lally.
Oh, yeah, Andy Lally.
This is his final IMSA race.
Really?
Yeah, before he retires from full-time driving.
What a career he's had.
Incredible. 5 Rolex 24 victories to his name.
That's amazing. He's a legend of this race.
It's going to be emotional seeing him race at Daytona for the last time.
It really is. But knowing Andy, he'll be focused on adding one more Rolex watch to his collection.
Oh, absolutely. He's a competitor through and through.
You know, something else that caught my eye is the strong South African contingent this year.
Oh, yeah. There's some serious talent coming from South Africa.
Yeah, it seems like South Africa has a pretty rich history in motorsport.
They do. And it's great to see that tradition continue here at Daytona.
For sure. Well, we have Sheldon van der Linde.
Very experienced BMW driver.
Yeah, he's competing in the top GTP class.
Going up against the best of the best.
And his brother Kelvin is racing too.
Right. He's driving for Paul Miller Racing in the GTD Pro class.
It's always fun to see siblings compete at this level.
Definitely adds another layer to the competition.
And we can't forget Jordan Pepper.
Oh, yeah, the Lamborghini factory driver.
He's also in the GTD Pro class. He's been making waves in IMSA recently.
He has. So plenty of reasons for South African fans to be excited this weekend.
Definitely. Now let's talk about qualifying.
Okay.
There were some surprises, let's just say.
Yeah, there were a few disappointments too.
I mean, qualifying is important.
It is, but in a 24-hour race, it's really just the starting point.
Right. The real drama unfolds over the entire race.
Exactly. But starting further back than expected can make things a lot tougher.
Especially in those early hours when the track is super crowded.
Yeah, it can. But it's not impossible to overcome a bad qualifying position.
True. We've seen teams charge through the field from the back of the grid to win this race before.
It's all about strategy, execution, and a little bit of luck.
And speaking of strategy, so we've talked about some of the drivers and the teams, but, you know, for someone watching the Rolex 24 for the first time, it might all just seem like a blur of cars and noise.
It can be overwhelming, for sure.
Especially with so many cars on the track at the same time.
Yeah, and all the different classes battling it out.
Exactly. So let's break it down a bit. What makes this race so unique? It's not just about speed.
It's about endurance,
Right. It's about strategy.
teamwork.
Yeah. This race really pushes both the car and the driver to their limits.
Imagine you're in the driver's seat.
Okay.
It's 3 a.m., you're exhausted, but you have to stay laser focused while you're weaving through traffic at 150 miles per hour.
Oh man, can barely stay awake past midnight,
Right.
let alone race a car at those speeds.
It's a whole different level of intensity.
It is. And that's why those driver changeovers are so crucial.
Absolutely. It's not just a quick swap.
No, there's a whole choreography to it.
Exactly. The team has to work like a pit crew in a Formula One race,
Refueling the car,
changing tires.
all while the drivers are getting in and out,
It's a ballet of precision.
and every second counts.
Absolutely. A fumble during a pit stop can cost the team valuable time and positions.
And for the drivers, those brief moments out of the car are so important.
For sure. They need to rehydrate
Get a quick massage.
and mentally prepare for their next stint behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's like a mini pit stop for the human body too.
Exactly. Now, another thing that can really shake things up
Yeah.
is the weather.
Oh yeah, the weather at Daytona can be unpredictable.
It can throw everything at you. Sunshine, rain, even fog.
So it's not just about being fast, it's about being adaptable.
Absolutely. A sudden downpour can completely change the complexion of the race.
Forcing teams to switch to rain tires.
Right, which have a different grip and require a different driving style.
So teams have to be ready for anything.
It's like playing chess, but the board keeps changing.
I like that analogy. And those strategic calls during a weather change can make or break a team's race.
No doubt. I bet there are some nail-biting moments when the track is drying.
And teams have to decide when to switch back to slick tires.
Oh, absolutely. Switch too early, and you risk spinning off the track. Switch too late, and you'll be overtaken by those who gambled on an earlier change.
It's high-stakes decision-making.
Sure. And speaking of high stakes,
Yeah.
we haven't even touched on the mental pressure these drivers are under.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other element.
It's not just physical endurance, it's mental
Right.
toughness.
Imagine staying focused and alert for hours on end while pushing a car to its absolute limits. Yeah, I'd probably start making mistakes after a few hours.
Well, you're not alone. These drivers are dealing with fatigue stress
Oh.
and the constant pressure to perform.
So that's where experience really comes into play.
Absolutely. Those veterans we talked about earlier, they've been there, done that.
They know how to manage those mental and physical challenges.
Exactly. They know how to pace themselves, stay hydrated, and communicate effectively with their team even when they're exhausted.
So for someone watching for the first time, what can they look for to get a sense of how a driver is coping with all that pressure?
Well, watch their body language during driver changeovers.
Okay.
Are they slumped over exhausted? Or are they still moving with energy?
Got it.
Listen to their radio communications.
Okay.
Are they calm and collected, or are they starting to sound stressed?
And on the track, any signs that a driver is starting to lose focus?
Missed braking points, running wide in corners, even slight hesitations. These can be early indicators that fatigue is setting in.
Interesting. So even for someone new to racing, there are these subtle cues that can reveal what's going on in the driver's head.
Absolutely. It adds another layer of appreciation for what these athletes are doing.
Okay, so we've talked about the drivers, the teams,
Mm-hmm.
the strategy, the mental game, but there's one more element that makes the Rolex 24 so special.
The fans.
The fans. The atmosphere at Daytona is incredible.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty wild.
You have fans from all over the world
Really?
camping out, tailgating, soaking up the energy of this 24-hour party.
It's like a festival of motorsport.
It really is. And the fans bring their own energy and passion to the race.
Cheering on their favorite drivers.
Teams, manufacturers.
So even if you're new to racing, the excitement is contagious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't help but get caught up in the atmosphere.
And what's cool is that the fans have access to pretty much everything.
Right, they can walk through the paddock,
See the cars up close.
even get autographs from the drivers.
It's a very immersive experience.
It's not like other motorsports where you're just confined to your seat. So you're saying it's worth braving the crowds and the potential sleep deprivation.
Oh, absolutely. It's a bucket list event for any racing fan.
And even if you can't make it to Daytona in person.
The television coverage is excellent.
Yeah, they do a great job of capturing all the action, the drama, and the behind-the-scenes stories.
Exactly. So whether you're a seasoned racing enthusiast or a curious newcomer, there's something for everyone at the Rolex 24.
Okay, we're back for the final lap of our Rolex 24 deep dive.
We've talked about a lot.
We have. But for me, there's always something new to learn about this race.
Every year brings something different.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what really strikes me is
That
just how much this race reflects the changing world of motorsport.
It's a microcosm of the sport, in a way.
I like that. Okay, so what do you mean by that?
Well, look at the GTP class.
Okay.
Those are all hybrid cars now. They're at the cutting edge of racing technology.
It's not just about raw horsepower anymore?
Nope. It's about fuel efficiency deploying electric power strategically. It's about squeezing every ounce performance out of these super complex machines.
So are we seeing a shift towards more sustainable racing?
Absolutely. And the Rolex 24 is a perfect testing ground for these new technologies.
Because it's such a demanding race.
Exactly. It's a 24-hour test of durability, reliability, performance under extreme pressure.
Like a real-world laboratory for the future of motorsport.
I like that analogy.
And it's not just about the tech, right? We're also seeing a much more diverse field of drivers.
That's right.
We talked about the South African drivers, but there are drivers from all over the world competing here.
Absolutely. And that diversity of backgrounds, experiences, driving styles, it just adds another layer of excitement to the race.
Speaking of excitement, let's circle back to those qualifying disappointments.
Well, yeah, some of them teams were really hoping for better starting positions.
So how do you think those drivers will approach the race knowing they're starting further back than they'd like?
They'll have to be aggressive but calculated,
Right? They can't afford to make any reckless moves.
especially in those early hours when the track is so crowded.
So it's about finding that balance between pushing hard and staying out of trouble.
Exactly. And they'll need to make up ground strategically.
Okay? So how can we as viewers see if a team is making a charge through the field?
We'll keep an eye on their lap times.
Okay.
Are they consistently faster than the cars around them?
Got it.
Are they gaining positions during pit stops?
Okay.
And are they making clean passes without taking too many risks?
So it's all about looking for those patterns.
Those subtle shifts in momentum.
Yeah, those could be just as exciting as the lead changes sometimes.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing.
What's that?
The human element.
Ah, yeah.
Let's talk about the drivers,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the teams, the people working behind the scenes?
Oh, they're the unsung heroes of endurance racing.
For sure. It's a true team effort.
Mechanics, engineers, strategists, they're all working together to keep the car running smoothly.
And to make those split-second decisions that can win or lose a race.
Absolutely. It's not just about having the fastest car. It's about having the best team.
And the Rolex 24 is the ultimate test of teamwork.
24 hours of nonstop pressure, problem-solving communication.
I imagine the dynamic between the drivers and the team must change over the course of the race.
It does. As fatigue sets in, the pressure mounts. That bond between the driver and the team becomes even stronger.
They tend to rely on each other.
Yeah, for support, encouragement, clear communication.
It's like a family going through a shared experience.
I like that analogy. And those moments of human connection, amidst all the intensity and competition, that's what makes endurance racing so special.
Well said. So we're just a few hours away from the green flag for the 2025 Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Just that I think we're in for an incredible race.
Okay.
The competition is fierce. The technology is cutting edge. The human drama is always compelling.
What advice would you give to someone watching the Rolex 24 for the very first time?
Don't try to follow everything at once. Pick a few drivers or teams to focus on and follow their journey over those 24 hours.
Got it.
Pay attention to the strategy, the pit stops, the weather changes, the battles for position. But most importantly, enjoy the ride.
The ride.
Yeah, it's a wild, unpredictable, and ultimately unforgettable experience.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our Rolex 24 deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the world of endurance racing, and we encourage you to tune into the race and see this incredible spectacle for yourselves. Thanks for listening.